Hi, I am Brandon Darty with FARO Insight, and today we will be going over our Inspect tool inside of interactive registration to help better our registration overall. So jumping right into this project that has 46 scans and has already been registered with our tools. So I used a fine registration to get it close to where it's almost done. But we're not done after we tell Scene to do our automatic registration. We need to always double check that everything has been fully registered to our liking. To do that, we are going to use our smart clipping box, and we're going to just get a thin slice of the area, just manipulating this clipping box over the entire project. So generally speaking, you're going to want the sides of walls to be shown here, and just a thin slice, around an inch or so. Now we can see that we've got the walls and structural elements of this project. So whether you're inside or outside, we're just going to try to capture that so we can look and see if, visually speaking, our project is fully registered. Now that we have our clipping box the way we want, we can look at this from an orthographic view and then a top view. This is going to allow us to really get a good picture of these walls here. And lastly, color points by scans. And you're just going to go through your entire project fairly quickly, just looking to see if your walls align. And most of the time, they will, because you've registered your project. You may have added some more connections that are missing and got your project down to where you want it exactly. But other times, when you're in more difficult areas, you may have situations where even though you have good connections and good statistics overall, you may have offset in your project. And this is what we are going to be fighting against today, using that Inspect tool. So just to give you an idea of this project, we're going to look at the statistics, and we can see this is very well put together overall. We have a very small error value overall, with our worst being all the way over here. But we have this offset. So even though you have these green connections or these small error values, be careful in just believing exactly what is being told to you the first time. Always check it no matter what. So now we need to diagnose where this issue is coming from. What is causing our registration to have issues? With a little bit of practice and multiple jobs where I have seen how many things can go wrong, I can kind of see here that my fine registration has not added connections where I think it should. So these scans should have connections between them, but for whatever reason, fine registration had some trouble putting them together. And my initial thought is that we have a transition here from the lower part of this garage going upward. So it's sloping right here. So there could have been just a little bit of an issue with the algorithm that it just needs a little help. So I could add these connections, and it may fix my problem, but overall, I know that something is wrong with one of my connections in this area. And it's very easy to find out which one it is with our Inspect tool. So we can click on a connection and then click Inspect. Now, we can see how these scans are talking to each other. So in the Scans view, after you click Fine Registration or you update statistics, all of the scans are talking to each other. They're all communicating and pulling on each other. But in the Inspect menu, this is only looking at how Scan 39 and Scan 2 are talking to each other. So if I zoom in, I can see that I do have offset between how they are talking. And with my menu here, I can see that I can run a coarse registration and a fine registration just between these scans. So what I'm going to do here is click Advanced, and I have some more options as well. The main one being registration settings. With these registration settings, I can lower or raise the subsampling. This will allow me to tell Scene to choose different points to put together the scans. So when it's higher, it's usually used for things that have less overlap or that are outside. It uses less dense points and further away points from the scans. When I lower it, it goes to closer points and more dense points. This is usually used when the scans are closer together and they have more overlap. I can also change the number of iterations in here because registration is an iterative process, meaning it will get closer and closer and closer with the walls and everything. So I can bump that up to 60 or 100 if I want to. For right now, we're going to just leave this subsampling down at around 25%. I always say do it at 25 or 75%. And I'm going to say OK to this. And then we're going to just zoom in on our issue that we can see and click Fine Registration. And if it's close and it chooses the correct points, they should align fairly well. We should see them move. So let's keep a close eye on these scan points right here. And it moved a little bit, and it's saying that the mean error is really good, but then it's saying some of the points that it's using aren't very good. And we can see here that this is definitely not solved. So sometimes you might put the subsampling lower or higher, and you have to just try the other way. So here I'm going to say OK, Fine Registration again, and it got a lot closer that time. So once again, it's an iterative process. It's just going to require one more, and we're looking good here. Now in here, this histogram graph just shows the points that it's using, so the 14,000 points that it's using. Out of those, what is the percentage of error for those points? So I'm going to say OK and say OK. And notice my issue has not been solved. And that's because I haven't hit Optimize yet. I haven't moved my scans. I've only looked at these and theoretically moved the scans together just between these two scans. So now I'm going to look at more connections around here to try to see if I'm having that same issue for multiple connections. And here we can see this is working very well. So these scans are talking to each other just fine. So I noticed that my orange scan up here doesn't have an issue with that connection. Going to check another one. And this one also looking good. But when we look down here, we're going to notice that similar offset that was happening. So we advanced registration settings, and we noticed that the higher one kind of did a little bit better of a job last time, so we can click Fine Registration. And just like last time, all we're looking for is these moving closer together, how they should. There we go. We can see we don't have a lot of points all the way out on our diagram, and of course the most important part, they're matching up here. And one more time, let's just look at a few more. Make sure we fix our problem totally here. Advanced registration settings. And you're not always going to get the subsampling right the first time. It's trial and error. Don't worry about which one you pick first. Sometimes it will fail. You can always just try the other side. And if something happens where it moves really out of alignment, you can hit cancel. But in our case, everything went well, so we'll say OK. Now that I've looked at all of the connections that I've wanted to, we can zoom back in over here, and we see that offset still. But once we hit optimize, our problem just got fixed. So in a matter of about 5-10 minutes, we fixed our big issue before exporting out our project. And of course, we would want to update our statistics. In this project, we'd probably also add more connections here to make sure that it's fully registered to the best of our ability. So on this project, we used the inspect tool to fix issues with the registration that were causing misalignment, even though it was telling us in the error values that it was aligned. So always make sure you do your slice, orthographic view, top view, and color points by scans, and just pan through your project and make sure that all sides of your project are looking good and aligned. Our next project, we're going to fix issues with scans that just aren't even close to being aligned with our inspect tool. So I'll see you in just a second. We're jumping back into another project here. You can see I've got 12 scans, and there's been some registration done. So if I go to my registration tab and I look at my scans, I can see that I've run a coarse registration to try to align my scans that were not aligned at all, and it made an auto cluster. And inside this auto cluster, it put together most of my scans on this project, but it just couldn't figure out where to put scan 10. Now, I could move this with my correspondence view, just moving it around to my auto cluster. But sometimes we have a lot of scans, or we don't like using correspondence view for certain projects. It might be difficult to figure out where to place it. So we have another way with that inspect tool. If I open my auto cluster, I can see that I have scan 11 here, and scan 10 is the one that is misplaced. Generally speaking, if you are scanning linearly, scan 10 should go with scan 11. But that is always in best conditions, so you want to check. And you can do that by double-clicking on scan 10 to go in the quick view, and then double-clicking on scan 11 to go into this. And when you look at that, they're in the same hallway. It's just they didn't know how to go together because it was a very narrow hallway. So now that I know where these two scans go together, I can add a connection, click on scan 11, and click on scan 10, and have that connection be made. Now, I could click refine, but they're super far away still, so instead I'm going to make it easier on Scene to understand them, and click on the connection and inspect it. Now, unlike our last inspect menu, we're not looking for if these scans are close to where they should be. We're trying to get them close now. And we can do that with our manual alignment tool, coarse registration up here. So I can tell it, hey, Scene, can you try to get this close to where it's supposed to be? And this time, now that I've told Scene that these two go together, it has an easier time than when you tell it to run the entire coarse registration on the project. So if this did not work, we can always move the scan around to where it's supposed to be, making sure our side view is also correct. So right here, push that up to where it's supposed to be, go to a top view, and do the same here. Now that I've done that, I can click Fine Registration in here. I could play with my subsampling like last time, but we don't need to quite yet. We're just going to click Fine Registration, and we can see that this is a very good overall registration. And we can see that when we zoom in as well, things are aligning. So we say OK, and just like last time, nothing has been done yet. We still need to click Optimize. And that will pull the project together. Of course, after this, we would add our connections with our other scans if they they are needed, but this is a way to join your outlier scans or even your clusters together through the inspect tool. So go and try to use this inspect tool on your projects, and you will see that it is a great tool for helping misalignment and helping get your projects generally aligned, just like I did here. Thank you.